And hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is creating a health bar system. We're not going to be taking damage. We're just going to create the health bar and make it visible to the player character. So you're going to notice that I'm not in my normal tutorial, and that is because I've actually done a few things to get the inventory system working that involved putting in a health bar, so I don't want to go back into that project and start messing up with the health bar. So we'll just do the health bar in this project, and then you can apply what I'm doing here into the project that you're working in. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need is going to be what's called a heads up display, and that heads up display is going to be the actual bar that we see running across the top of the screen, or the bottom, or wherever you decide to put it. So what we need to do first is right click. We're going to go into user interfaces and select widget blueprint. There we're going to go ahead and call this health underscore bar, and we're going to go ahead and double click in it. Okay, once the health bar is open, this is the screen that you're going to see. The majority of what we're going to be doing is either grabbing stuff here, adding it to our hierarchy, and jumping back and forth between our graph and our designer. So inside the designer part of the window, what you're going to see is you're going to see a marquee box, and if you grab the bottom of that marquee box, you'll actually see that you get different video sizes. So we're actually going to leave ours at the 1280 by 720, and that's going to be good for the size television screens that we would assume that we're going to get, or that people are going to be watching this on. And you can see down here that this is indeed a 16 by 9, which is a widescreen format. Okay, so it'll be a little bit longer than it is taller. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is grab a progress bar and drag that onto the screen. The progress bar itself is going to be quite a bit small, so you can adjust this to whatever size you want. I just want to make it big enough so that we can actually see the changes. As this comes in, you're going to notice that it gets this kind of funky star thing that's over here on the side. Now, if you were to click and drag this out, what this does basically is anchors this to somewhere on the screen. So what would be happening right now if I was to leave it the way it is that this would be anchored to the left-hand side of the screen. So if the TV screen started here and let's say stopped halfway here because there was a trim or there was something on the edge of the television scene or the television set, you would end up losing half of your bar. So the best thing to do would be to put it on this side, so regardless of how small the television screen is, this will always be anchored to the right hand side, and make sure that regardless of what is the right hand side or how far that is away from the left hand side, it's relative as opposed to being an actual number. It's anchored to that area. All right, so once we have the health bar there, the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and grab a text and place that somewhere underneath or somewhere close by, so then that way, and this would be, you know, getting with your 2D designer and figuring out where you want this to be. Obviously, if I anchored the other one to the right hand side, I want to go ahead and anchor this one to the right hand side as well. So here inside of text, with the text still selected, I can go into the text box and I can go ahead and call this health. And you'll see that the name has then changed up here. And if I wanted to make things like make the size bigger or make it smaller, all of that stuff would be available over here on the side. You can add shadows, you can justify it, you can change the font, you can change its color. Let's make this a little bit bigger so it's well understood what it is. Let's make it about a 30. That's probably big enough. Okay, so at this point we have now done what we need to with the with this screen. There's not much more we're going to be able to do with it until we add the functions. So let's go ahead and compile and save. And before we move on, what we'll actually need to do is go into the first person character. So I'm going into content, first person BP, blueprints, first person character. And inside the first person character, what I'm going to need to do is I'm actually going to need to create two variables. So let's go ahead and create two variables. Let's create another one. Okay, so the first one, we're going to call it current health. All right. And the next one, we're going to call max health or full health. right, now both of these are going to need to be not booleans but floats, because they are going to need to have a number value attached with them. Okay, so let's add that number now. You are going to need to hit compile and save. Once you've done that, if you click back onto one of these, you will see that underneath the default value, you now have the ability to be able to put a number. So in current health, what we're going to do is we're going to leave that at 100. And at full health, we're also going to leave that at 100. Now, these are just arbitrary numbers, 0 to 100. You know, this is how we grade, so we always expect max health to be 100 and 0 health to be 0. But you can have these numbers be anything you want. I know that in games where you level up your character, this number the full health number keeps increasing. So at that point, you know, you would do whatever you need to, but for the sake of this example and just to keep it easy, we're going to leave 100 and 100, okay? So once those are done, hit compile and save. Make sure you've done it in both the current and the full health, and we have. And now we're ready to go back to the health bar. Okay, so now that we have the health bar, now that we have the function or the variables that we're going to be able to call from the first character, we can now adjust the percentage of the health bar. And to be able to do this, we need to come over here we have to select the health bar itself, the bar, and over in the details panel, you'll come down to progress and you'll see one that says bind. And this is where we're going to create our formula for the percentage of the bar. Okay, so let's create a binding by clicking on binding and creating a binding. All right, the first thing that we're going to need to do is pull this out and say cast to first person character. This is going to make sure that the first person character is the recipient of this bar, that anything that happens to this bar is related to the first person character. Let's get player character. If I'm not mistaken, that's going to go here. All right. Now, from there, what we need to do is we need to create a bit of math. So the first half of this was to make sure it ensured that it went back to the first person character and that it was able to get to them and make the adjustments to this. The second part of this is going to be the health variable. So we're going to click out of here and type in get health. And you'll actually see both of them, and we do need both of them, okay? But we're going to do current health first, and then we're going to put the full health underneath. And we need the get for each one of these. Get. Okay. Now the reason why we're doing this is because we want to subtract the current health from the from the full health, which will then give us the percentage of how much health we have left, right? So whatever our full health, current health is divided by our full health is what's going to give us this. So we're going to type in float divided by float, and we're going to plug in the other number down here at the bottom, and then this should go back as the return value. So what we're saying is this health bar is going to be looking at the first person character. It's going to be looking at two aspects, which is the current health and the full health. It's going to divide those numbers against each other and then give us a percentage on the bar. All right, so once we've done this, we can hit file and save. And the last bit of this is going to actually be coming into the first person player, because now that we have the health bar and we have it there, we still can't see it. If we push play right now to visualize this or to see it on the screen, we would not be able to do so. So what we're going to do is go back into the first person player, first person character, go into the event graph, and what you're looking for is one that says event begin play. Now, regardless of where you are, if you tried to type this in and you already had one in, so begin play, it's going to take you straight to where it is, okay? Now, this is feeding stuff that's already there with the VR gun and things that we're actually not going to use with this project. I don't like throwing code away. If I need to, I'll just take it and move it over to a certain place. But in this case, let's just leave this intact. What we're going to do is we're going to create a sequence from this, so then that way we can do both things. Sequence. So that's going to be underneath flow control. And what I actually want to do is I want this to be second, so I'm going to delete that from there and attach the second branch to here. Okay, so from here what we need to do is we need to, first of all, we need to get the HUD, and then we need to make it visible in what's called the viewport, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is pull off of the then 0, or the first node off of the sequence. What we're looking for is create health bar or you know what, create widget. And what that's going to do is create a or allow for the game to create the widget into the game. We're looking for class, which is going to be the health bar itself. And from there, what we need to do is promote this to a variable because we've now created the widget, but it's not visible still, right? So it's in the game, it's available, it's there, but we can't see it. So what to do this, we need to promote this to a variable. So we're going to click off of the return value, promote to variable. Let's go ahead and give this a name like HUD viewport, so we know what that variable is. And then from there, we can actually add it to viewport. So now let's type in viewport. You'll see one that says add to viewport. Make sure that you connect the target so that it's actually being seen. And at this point, we now have it. So beginning event begin play, go to the sequence. It's going to create a health bar widget. That health bar, the widget class is the health bar itself, the only widget that we have at the moment. It's going to be we've promoted it to a variable from the return value that has then made it available to be seen inside the viewport. So if we hit compile and save and push play on our game, we should now have a health bar. And it is indeed in the right hand corner, adjusting for whatever size of the screen that I have. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the health bar. From here, we will look at applying damage to the character. So that'll be the next part to this video series. So it would be being able to take damage away or being able to take health away from the character now that we have it.